6 with the latest BBC News for Essex. I'm Nick Alliker. An Essex teenager is starting a life prison sentence this morning after being convicted of plotting a terror attack targeting the police and military. 19-year-old Matthew King from Wickford was jailed for a minimum of 6 years at the Old Bailey yesterday. Detective Chief Superintendent Dominic Murphy is from the Metropolitan Police Service.
This is a really serious threat to the public and to colleagues and to the army, and really for me this was an imminent terrorist attack and we needed to disrupt it.
In the news with Nick, a judge has told an Essex teenager who admitted plotting terror attacks that there's no guarantee he'll be freed when his minimum term is served. This is Matthew King, who's 19 and from Wickford. He became radicalised by watching videos online. He plotted attacks and he looked at targets including police stations and an army barracks. His mum became so worried that she herself referred him to the Prevent programme. Also, several mosques reported his behaviour. King was around 16 years old when he started to become radicalised. There are several aspects of this case involving 19-year-old Matthew King from Wickford that fascinate me, trouble me, just stuck with me, I guess. The fact he was so young, the fact he managed to radicalise himself in his own bedroom by watching online videos, the fact that his mum, as well, was so troubled that she herself referred him to the Prevent programme. She's also written to the judge to say we're going to be there for him, we're going to support him, we're going to try and help rehabilitate him, bring him back to us. Let's talk to Sidra Naeem, who's a chaplain and has been trained through the Prevent programme. And Sidra, I suppose we should say this looks like quite a success for the Prevent programme. This is probably what it was set up to do, wasn't it?
Yes, it definitely is, because it stopped everything in its tracks and managed to stop any problems in the future. So that is very, very good.
Mm-hmm. For those of us who perhaps don't know very much about Prevent, what is it? What does it do? How did you get involved with that?
So Prevent really is a program really to prevent terrorism, extremism, right-wing, left-wing. And it was actually initiated over 10 years now. It has been updated along the lines. You know, we get training nearly every year now through our jobs and our community work. And it's there really to recognise any signs of radicalisation and then report any potential people who may be radicalised. And then the Prevent programme then supports those people through counselling, investigation.
So, I mean, obviously I don't want you to talk too much about specific cases, but the one that we are talking about today involves someone who started at 16. And as a parent myself of mid-teens, sometimes they get a bit grumpy, sometimes they get a bit withdrawn. It's not always easy, is it, to spot the signs that they've actually started to take steps down a very dark path indeed?
Yes, I think one of the biggest appearances that come up that you know that something is wrong is when they become sympathetic to extremist ideologies and groups. They don't think killing, there's anything wrong with that, or they start supporting bad things. That's one of the signs, outward signs, but then also online behaviour. A lot of teenagers are always on their laptops and things, but it's also, changing your identity online is another one. And then having all of a sudden a new set of friends and a huge quick change in their ideologies within a couple of months. All of a sudden they're interested in something which they were never interested in before, and their views are really, really strict and stubborn views that don't get changed.
Yeah, so if they start to sympathise with really far right or, like you say, far left ideals, perhaps that's a bit of a trigger warning. And the internet itself, it can be such a force for good, but at the same time, there's some very nasty corners of it, aren't there?
There definitely is. I really believe that there needs to be a lot more stricter guidelines, blocked websites and YouTube. Some of the things he was watching was through YouTube. Well, why are those sites not being monitored and blocked in the first place? I do know some monitoring is there because sometimes you can, upload something and it gets blocked. And I think there just needs to be more scrutinisation, really, of the internet and also YouTube, which is where all this is happening, isn't it? 99% of all of this radicalisation is happening online. virtually.
Yeah, we used to think, stranger danger, and we used to worry about our children going out. Perhaps we need to worry about our children if they're staying in. Again, in this case, a young man radicalised himself in his own bedroom. It's quite terrifying in some ways.
Yes, definitely. 99% is all happening online, and we can't monitor it a lot of the time. Teenagers have passwords on their laptops and on their accounts, and we can't monitor them 24 hours. So the only way we can is by looking at their behaviour. Is their behaviour changing? Are they having anger tantrums and things like that? But it's very tough nowadays for parents, and I salute the mother who did, report her own son to Prevent. That's a very brave thing to do.
That's the most amazing part of this case for me, the courage that she must have had to say, I can't, we can't deal with this ourselves. We need to go and get help, whatever the cost of that. And I know she was also worried because I think her son started telling his sister that she wasn't dressing modestly enough. And I suppose there comes a point where you can't put it off any longer.
Yes, I think her main worry was also she was worried he was going to go and kill somebody. And everybody knows that cannot be a part of any religion. So there's no religion, really, that tells you to kill. That's against humanity. So then, something is wrong. They are being radicalised, if that's their way of thinking of killing innocent people. And I think that was what drove her then to go and report her son to Prevent.
Yeah, so often it's people using religion rather than religion itself that's the problem, isn't it? Sidra, would you recommend people calling Prevent if something is troubling them? Would you recommend them trying to sort it out themselves first? What is there a guideline here, or is it just instinct, really?
I think in the first instance it's very important to speak to your children or to anybody who you think is being radicalised to see if you can change them, change their views. But if they persist in having their, really strict rules, rigidity is the word, then obviously the only way forward is to go to Prevent. And that's exactly what the mother did. She tried first to speak to him. She must have tried at first to speak to him, to, try and bring him back on the right path. That didn't work, and then she carried on and reported him in the end.
Sidra, really good to talk to you. Thank you ever so much for your time today. Sidra Naeem, chaplain and someone who has been trained herself through the Prevent programme. If you've got any thoughts on this, by all means give me a call, 0800 111 40 41. If you've ever had to try and steer a loved one away from a dark path, I'd love to know how you did it.